Psst, you. Yeah, you. Lego, over here. I see you have this ET mold just lying around. Would you mind making some more? You know what? I have a good idea for you. Hello there! Welcome to AMBR Builds, where assembly may be required. Join me as I document my journey back into Lego collecting. And today, I wanted to talk about movies and Lego, and how the two mix. Now, this won't be a history lesson on the Lego Studios theme, although I would love to talk at length about that. But rather, this will be focused on my idea for a Lego theme based on iconic movie moments. What spawned this idea was my want to have a Lego E.T. minifigure. E.T. is one of my favorite films of all time. It's to the point I ended up writing 2 college papers about this movie for 2 totally separate classes. And I realized that Lego is sitting on some unique molds such as the E.T. headpiece. I mean, what else could they use it for? They could definitely change the printing and make it some unrelated alien. But why not find a way to keep making the figure instead of letting the mold collect dust? E.T. may not have the widest market for merch today, so I understand how limiting making this minifigure is. And as I thought more and more about this, it became more than just about E.T.
Oh, hi, E.T.
Lego, whether they still do or not, has had the license to many unique intellectual properties, or IPs, especially on the Dimensions scene. And these are characters that are based on movies that are beloved by many. You're gonna have a hard time telling me no one wants a sloth from the Goonies or a Gremlins minifig. So, why not breathe new life into this area with a new theme? Now, disclaimer. My logic is not accounting for any difficulties in using or regaining licenses to make these sets. It is purely coming from a fan's perspective. As in, I like these figures, I like these movies, and I think others would really appreciate a line of cinema sets too. I think it would do well on store shelves. And it is more fun than just telling myself to buy these minifigs off eBay. So, here's my pitch. Recently, Lego has been making many sets aimed at a more mature demographic. Not always in terms of matureness, but rather based on concepts or IPs that they think an 18+ audience might be more interested in. One of these concepts is the 18+ line of Star Wars sets. Now, this line consists of huge, intricately detailed UCS sets, replica helmets, and most recently diorama displays. These dioramas use an attractive formula. They're all built on a sleek black display stand that fits easily on a desk. They focus on capturing lots of details of key scenes from the saga, and they are built with displayability over playability. And most include a printed quote tile related to the scene on the side of the set. And it is worth noting they use this concept on a Jurassic Park set too, so I guess I can check that film off my list. Using this formula, Lego can delight fans of other films with a line of sets that use sleek, brick-built display stands, capture the magic of an iconic movie moment, and come with some killer minifigs. The display bases would also be built similar to the 43179 Mickey and Minnie buildable figure set, so that the end of the base looks like it's cut from a real film. This theme would be right in line with sets they sell right now, and I'm sure it would be a hit. As if I needed anything else to prove my idea, The Office, Friends, and Seinfeld Ideas sets show not just that there is a market for this sort of thing, but that Lego keeps making these types of sets shows their confidence in it. So, I've explained my concept. Now let's look at some examples.
Hello, I'm Steven Spielberg, and I'd like to welcome you to the E.T. adventure.
I'm gonna start with the film and the extraterrestrial that inspired this list, E.T. I love that E.T. was not obscure enough to become a minifig for Dimensions. In his level pack, he came with a flower pot and a phone mini build. The mini build can also be made into a speak and spell satellite or a larger satellite. I think for a proper E.T. display set that it would have to come with an Elliot minifig, no matter what scene is depicted. The two show one of the best friendships of any movie ever, so including them together is a must. An Elliot minifig may not be so hard to make on your own, since all you really need is a red hoodie, blue mid-legs, and a red hood. So, my top 3 picks for the scenes would be the scene where Elliot and E.T. meet for the first time, the scene where Elliot teaches him about Earth, or the bike scene. Now, the scene where Elliot is sleeping on the lawn chair, waiting by the shed to see what that creature making noise looks like, would give us a small structure and some smaller details like the lawn chairs and stud-built Reese's Pieces trail. The shed could take up the right third of the display stand, and to sweeten the deal further, I'm proposing this set should have a light brick in the shed. There's no notable dialogue in this scene, so the side plat could be a logo for the film. My next set idea is of the scene where Elliot is teaching E.T. about Earth through his toys. There could be tons of micro builds and minifig statue pieces to represent Elliot's action figures. Elliot and E.T. are given inclusions for this one, but to make it even better, maybe it can include his sister Gertie and his brother Michael. The room with toys can be the left 2/3, while the right third of the stand has a closet door and a plethora of stuffed animal builds inside. E.T. would have a small spot carved out for him to stand behind the stuffed animals, with his face peeking through. Just like the last scene, the quote here would be tricky to pick. Man, E.T. is such an amazing film, but now I can't think of appropriate quotes for these sets. I guess I could use Elliot saying any number of the Star Wars figures' names.
And this is Hammerhead. See?
But really, I think Elliot saying,
Stay. I'll be right here.
is the best one because E.T. says this back to him at the end and is just such a powerful callback. And lastly, this next one may be the most iconic of the 3 scenes I'm suggesting, but an E.T. set could depict the bike flying in front of the moon. This could get crowded really fast if it included all of the bike riders escorting E.T. So I think this set would be just Elliot and E.T. The base of this set would be the tops of tall trees. A back wall would be built using small plates to capture the bluish night sky, with the moon's glow and stars in the background. The wall would also need a mechanism to support Elliot's bike and make it float above the trees. Personally, this scene would be my top pick, but any of those 3 would have me super excited. Actually, just another chance to get the E.T. fig at retail would have me over the moon. Get it?
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too.
The next film deserving of a vignette set is The Wizard of Oz. Now, Wizard of Oz transcends past dimensions. That's not to say it is a multiversal being, but rather it has been in other sets before. Of course, it's worth mentioning that the Dimensions pack has the Wicked Witch and a brick-built flying monkey. The monkey was improved upon in set 70917, the Ultimate Batmobile from the Lego Batman movie. This Batmobile set also included another Wicked Witch figure, totaling 2 set appearances. And for the LEGO Movie 2 collectible minifigure series, you had the chance of finding Dorothy with Toto, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, or the Cowardly Lion. So that is really the main cast, all made into figures already. What makes this more impressive is none of the main 4 characters ever came together in a set, and none came with the Wicked Witch. Technically, the main 4 could be considered a part of the same set, since they were in the same minifigure series, but you would have to always open them in separate packages. However, I would love to see the 4 of them together in a Yellow Brick Road diorama. This set would depict the famous scene where all 4 of them are united and skipping through the forest. A snot, stud's not on top. Yellow Brick Road would be the highlight feature of the build, and the minifigs would of course be a big reason this would sell well. The rest of the build would be trees and foliage to give depth and life to the scene. I chose this one instead of the Munchkin scene or a scene with the witch or Oz. Any scene with Munchkins would just raise the question of how many Munchkins to include, and I already don't like picking favorites. We've already got multiple chances to get a witch minifig, plus I felt the main 4 skipping to Oz would make a better set. And I didn't choose the Land of Oz for this same reason. The quote on the side would absolutely have to be,
"We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz."
What is that?
Mogwai.
The next film deserving of a cinema set is Gremlins. Gremlins appeared in LEGO Dimensions and had its own team pack in the form of set 71256. In this set, you got Gizmo in his car, and Stripe and a camera. Gremlins would be a fun film to turn into a set, however the biggest issue I see is scaling. Gizmo and Stripe are minifigs, but in reality they're much smaller than people. This means using a scene where the focus is on Gremlins with Billy and Kate, or even Mr. Wing, would mean that they would be very out of proportion to each other. This is why I would choose the Greenery Showdown as the scene for this diorama. Although Billy and Kate are in this scene, I would conveniently leave them out just for scaling reasons. The action in this scene focuses on Gizmo pulling the shades on Stripe anyways, so the most climactic parts would all be there. There would be a fountain big enough to fit Stripe in, and there would be a back wall and a roof. with a pulley you can use to have Gizmo pull the rope and let the sun shine. Gizmo and Stripe would be the only figures I would include. Along with many plants, this set would also come with the pink car Gizmo rides in, and maybe even the shovel he uses as a ramp before crashing into the wall. I'd like to see Stripe have a revolver piece, despite this messing with the scaling a little bit. And I think the best quote for the tile on the side would be from earlier in the film, when Billy's dad says,
Number one, he hates bright lights. We know that. But you gotta keep him out of the sunlight.
This would be another neat opportunity to use a light brick. It would look great over the shop roof so that as the shutters are pulled back, you can shine it on Stripe. Disclaimer, grotesque melting Stripe figure not included. Now I really hope you agree with me that this next film is good enough for a set. Now the Goonies is an 80s gem. I would absolutely love to have a Goonies diorama in my Lego room. There's so many good scenes in this film, and the good thing is that a lot of the scenes are contained in small quarters, meaning that they would be easy to fit on a small display base and could be packed with tons of small details. The Goonies' only Lego set appearance is in set 71267, the Goonies level pack for Dimensions. It included a sloth minifigure and 2 mini builds, one for the skeleton piano and the other for One-Eyed Willie's pirate ship. Sloth has his Superman shirt printed on his torso, which is no surprise given LEGO's great working relationship with Warner Brothers. Now, if I had to narrow it down to 2 scenes, these would be the 2. First, the attic scene when they discover the map. While displaying rectangular base sets on a shelf would work best when the long ways go from left to right, I think this scene would call for the long way to go front to back. This way there's a sense of depth amongst the antiquities in the attic. A brand minifig could page through the book of pirate artifacts, while Chunk would have his hairpiece and also a pirate hat to wear, like he does in this scene. There would be tubes with the that Data and the others look at. Mouth would have a painting with a hole missing in the middle, possibly made by a missing plate, where he sticks his tongue through it as Mikey ruins his joke. And Mikey would have the map of One-Eyed Willie's treasure. The map would make for a great printed tile, and so would the Chester Copperpot newspaper. On the quote plate, it would say,
1632. Is that a year or something?
Actually, it should say the writing that Mouth translates from the map.
Ye intruders beware, crushing death and grief, soaked with blood of the trespassing thief.
I know it's a long quote, so maybe it could go the whole length of the front side and be printed across multiple tiles. I don't think that's really LEGO's style, but maybe they'd make an exception. Unfortunately, I did not choose a scene with Sloth. His scenes are more isolated, where it's usually just him and Chunk, or it's him on the pirate ship, which would make a nice idea set, but not a good diorama piece. So the second scene that I think would look good would be the wishing well scene. This scene has my favorite quote from the whole film.
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
This diorama would make for a spectacular vertical build. The wishing well would be jagged rocks and lots of translucent pieces to represent water. Bronze and silver studs could act as the coins at the bottom of the well. Down here would have Mikey, Brand, Mouth, Data, Andy, and Steph. Above them,
Up there!
would stand Troy and his friends. I realized that's a lot of minifigs included, but I think for this scene, to get it in its fullest sense, that's an exception I'm willing to make to my too many minifigures rule. When I finally get to sit down with Mr. Lego, I think I'll pitch this scene first. How do you do? Amber Builds feels it would be unkind to present this last film without a word of friendly warning. My last pick for a cinema diorama set would be Universal's 1931 film, Frankenstein. Although not in Dimensions, LEGO has used this version of Frankenstein before. Set 40422 is a Frankenstein's monster, Brickheads. This set was officially licensed by Universal, and it was the only one of its kind. I was really hoping for a whole sub-series of Universal Monsters Brickheads, but nothing else seemed to come from this license agreement. In the early 2010s, LEGO made a theme called Monster Fighters, which I would say has come closest to capturing what a minifig scale Universal Classic Monsters theme should be. This theme had minifigs and special molded pieces for Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, Gillman, a werewolf, and a mummy. The Frankenstein's monster's enlarged forehead piece could easily be reused on him in a Frankenstein's lab diorama. Elements of the scene include the uneven brickwork of the lab, the tall electronic machines with flowing electricity, and not to mention the lab table where Frankenstein lays, lowered in using a pulley system. Obvious minifig inclusions would be the monster, Dr. Frankenstein, and his assistant Fritz. My last request for this set, it would be in black and white. That's right, I think it needs to stay true to the film and be built entirely out of bricks on a grayscale. The minifigs would also have to be printed in the same lack of color scheme. The quote for the tile on the side, take a guess what it would be.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
If this first monster set proved to be a hit, then I would love to see other classic monsters get recreated in the same style. Now that I've played my hand, it's time to hear what Mr. Lego has to say about my ideas. Well, Mr. Lego, that's not a bad idea. I mean, that is the spirit of Lego after all. These pieces work as part of an interlocking system, not tied down by strict boundaries in terms of what they can and cannot be. Just because there is not a set doesn't mean I can't build these scenes myself, and if anything, I think I should build these scenes into mocks. I would be psyched to see this on store shelves, but the time and effort going into making these myself would make them all the more special. But one thing I would still want Lego to do is make the molds and the prints for these minifigs. Now if you're a minifig purist, as in, you do not customize the pieces themselves, then some of these figs would take a lot of research and part sorting to get right. I would surely take a LEGO Cinema collectible minifigure series, but I don't think it's the best representation of these characters. You see, I already picked properties that LEGO has worked with, either with the assumption that the licensing would be easier to get, or with the assumption that they could reissue some beloved characters again that they already made. For a LEGO CMF line, these characters might feel a little too randomly chosen to be put together. In Dimensions, it's fine because the randomness works. Combining characters in this way makes a little more sense to me, since their respective story worlds and their respective gadgets and items come with them. And it's a game, so the interactive element makes it feel reminiscent of combining different LEGO themes during play. In a CMF line, it is just the characters, and there would have to be a little more cohesion as to why E.T. is a part of the same series as Frankenstein. But at the same time, a CMF series would encourage builders to flesh out the worlds these characters live in. You wouldn't be given Frankenstein's lab, it would be up to your imagination to design it. At the end of the day, I think there is a niche here that LEGO could tap into and please a ton of fans. From those who genuinely love those films and may not primarily be LEGO collectors, to those who just want another chance at buying these minifigs, but want more value if they're going to pay resale prices to get them. What do you think? Would you want to see a cinema series of diorama sets? What films and minifigs would fit well into this line? Leave your ideas in the comments, I would love to hear them. Also, let me know of the films I mentioned which one is your favorite. Alright, that's all I got today. So until next time, thanks for watching. And cut.